Andy Cureton from UKRI. So hi, Andy. And Andy works in UKRI on the Transforming Food Production Challenge, and has been helping DEFRA and Russell's team in designing and developing and launching some of the new funding strands that are coming through, as Russell mentioned. So I'm going to hear from Andy now. And just advance warning that I'm considering we're slightly behind, so we might skip the break or have it slightly shorter than planned. So I'll be mulling on that as well while Andy's speaking and update you afterwards. All right, thank you. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks to the Soil Association for inviting me to be a part of this panel. And now Tom's put the pressure on because I've got to get the speed up now if you're going to get a break. So what I'm planning to do in the next 5 minutes is really talk about the work that we've been doing in UK Research and Innovation's Transforming Food Production Challenge and how that relates to some of the findings in this report, because I think there's some strong synergies there, particularly in the sort of the diversity of technologies that are needed and the importance of that systems approach within innovation. So for those of you that aren't familiar with UKRI, UK Research and Innovation is the UK's largest public funder of research and innovation. It's made up of the research councils funding early stage research in universities and research institutes, and Innovate UK, which is the part that I work in, which supports business-led innovation, helping businesses develop and commercialise new ideas. So the Transforming Food Production programme is all about helping the agriculture sector achieve its net zero ambitions. We do this by supporting the development and adoption of new precision solutions to improve existing agricultural production systems. And we're also supporting alternative ways of producing foods through, for example, production of alternative proteins by fermentation or cell culture, or through vertical agricultural systems. The challenge was launched in 2018 with a budget of £90 million, and over the time we've supported just over 80 projects to date, with funding predominantly being awarded to small and medium-sized companies, all of which are based in the UK. And many of the technology ideas that they're developing chime with the technologies identified in the report. So this just gives 3 examples of technologies that we're developing that could be implemented in agroecology approaches. So there's an example there first looking at sensing technologies and how they can make automated hoeing become more accurate, reducing the need for pesticides. This is also looking at how these technologies can be implemented in a modular way that could allow it to be either mounted on a tractor or on robots. And the final example there, one on livestock called Grazemore. This one's looking at how you can use GPS tracking to improve productivity of grazing dairy cows, and so make more effective use of pasture by opening and closing gates automatically. This extends the grazing periods, reducing the need for feed, and also trying to increase milk productions from levels based on existing pasture grazing. But the project also aims to provide more opportunities for long-term grass with the added benefits of carbon sequestration there. And so for me, it's really promising that there's so much work already being supported on the types of technologies that could underpin that agroecological transition. So the Transforming Food Production programme isn't just about how we produce the sort of technology development piece. It's really important to us that those technologies are also taken up and deployed at scale. Otherwise, what's the point? And so we need to know what we can do to make the innovation process as effective as possible. And we received lots of feedback about how disjointed the farming innovation process was, with too many gaps between farmers, innovators and traditional R&D providers. And so one of the things we wanted to know was what we needed to do as a funder of research and development, and what we could do to bring these groups closer together. What could we do to make sure the solutions we support have the best opportunity to be commercialised? make sure that they're deployed at scale, and make sure the sector achieves it or goes beyond its net zero ambitions. Now, that isn't to say that everything that we will support needs to be successful. As a public funder, our role is to invest in risky ideas, which means everything won't succeed. But what we want is for those projects that do succeed to be as successful as possible and to have as broader benefits as possible. So we did some work, we pulled out a number of principles through engaging with stakeholders, and we now use those principles to define our research competitions. So what I want to finish on is just talk about how we've applied those and use the research starter grants that Russell highlighted in his overview of the Farming Innovation Programme. We've used feedback from stakeholders to understand how we can develop this as a new competition structure and approach, which is specifically designed to encourage and enable much more involvement from farmers, growers and foresters in identifying and developing new solutions. We're running this competition as a trial. It's very different from other competitions that we've run in the past, and we're very keen to understand how we might need to adapt it in the future to get the outcomes we want. We've allocated a budget of £1 million to this first competition, and we're looking to support feasibility studies that are between £28,000 and £56,000. So what are we looking for in these projects? Well, if I move on to the next slide, we're looking for projects that are very much looking to investigate early stage solutions with the potential to substantially improve overall productivity, sustainability and resilience within existing agricultural systems. We're looking for ideas that can solve really big, complex issues that will make a difference to farmers where there's no current obvious solutions. We're looking for problems that aren't going to be solved overnight and aren't easily going to be solved on farm. So there's a need for some early stage research and technology input. And ideally, we're looking for solutions that will benefit a large number of farmers, growers and foresters in England. So the outcomes of these projects, it could be that the idea is identified to have further potential and is worth further R&D to commercialise it, in which case we'd hope that the other funds available through the Farming Innovation Programme will be able to support it progress. It could be that the project identifies that there's a solution that already exists out there and could be used, or it could show conclusively that maybe a particular concept isn't viable. And all of those outcomes are fine. Welcome all of those outcomes through this funding strand. So if you're interested in the Research Starter or the other funding competitions that Russell mentioned, he's already mentioned the website, but I'll mention it again, that more information is available at www.farminginnovation.ukri.org. So that's a really brief overview from me of how the UKRI Transforming Food Production Challenge is and is continuing to develop solutions that can benefit agroecology. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andy. Really helpful and really great to hear about those examples of some of the projects that you've funded already that that seem to fit with the ethos of the report. I guess one of the things that prompted me to mull on was how I imagine there's also other things that are funded that maybe make the environment for agroecology and agricultural systems more difficult, commercially, practically, whatever it might be. And I think it's partly about the opportunities you're creating, but also that sense of overall, what's the overall impact of the portfolio as a whole. And I think that's an important part of the mix as well. So thanks very much.